This is Nathan Clark for the Nathan Clark Team, Rhode Island's #1 real estate team, and you're listening to the Craig Proctor Podcast.
Let's go!
Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Blake Corey with Craig Proctor Seminars, and I'm coming to you live today from Anaheim, California, the Craig Proctor Super Conference, and I've got a very, very special guest with me. The man, the myth, sometimes the legend, Mr. Nathan Clark. Dude, #1 real estate team leader in the state of Rhode Island?
What a great introduction. Yes. #1. We've actually been #1 now for 10 years.
Wow.
In Rhode Island. 10 years in a row, and counting in Rhode Island, yes.
Yeah, so this is Nathan. He's one of the top 100, and you're cutting yourself a little short, top 100 real estate team leaders in the entire United States, right?
Thank you very much. Yes, the Wall Street Journals ranked us as the top 100 real estate teams in the country. That's out of, I don't know how many millions of agents are out there and teams. So,
yeah.
Yes, thank you very much.
Awesome. Yeah, you and I met, about 4 years ago at a Craig Proctor seminar. I was not nearly selling the amount of houses that I am, but it was a lot of it's thanks to you, dude. Just getting on the phone and talking to you, helping me out through some situations. Man, those letters that you sent me in ugly paper bags and stuff to my office. Yep. That was a good time. So, dude, tell everybody where you're at right now. What's your business look like? Because I think you're selling over 350 homes this year or something like that?
Yeah, Corey, thank you very much for introduction. Yeah, so we'll do over 420, somewhere between 425, 450, see how things land this year.
Wow, that's amazing.
Which is up. And it's what I always also have to tell people too is we're in Rhode Island. So it's not Long Island. It's between Connecticut and Massachusetts. It's really small. It's about, you can fit Rhode Island into Maryland 2 times.
Wow.
So there's about 1 million people roughly in Rhode Island. So it's a small marketplace. Yeah, that's what we're doing. We've been growing year after year and focused on making the business better for the customers, for our team members, for everybody there with it. Thanks to Craig doing that.
Do you find it hard? I mean, you're breaking some big barriers, man. Selling over 400 homes a year. Do you ever find it hard or challenging in such a small marketplace?
Let me just put it this way. Rhode Island, and especially New England, are very old school. They like to do things and hold on to their traditions. So in 2008, when we really started ramping things up again, bigger and bigger, there were no lock boxes in Rhode Island. Meaning, like when you'd show a house, the listing agent would show up to the property and the buyer's agent would show up to show a house. There was no lockbox.
That seems about right. In Rhode Island, no such thing as a lockbox. Yeah, of course.
Just so you know, lockboxes were used in Connecticut and Massachusetts. For some reason, Rhode Island, no one ever used lockboxes. Yeah, so
of course,
have we had some challenges? Yes, is kind of bringing things into the 21st century or maybe even the 20th century. So that's always been a challenge of bringing new, but that actually has been our advantage, is because what Craig taught me in the beginning was to be different and to how to stand out in a crowd. And in Rhode Island, being 1 million people, everybody knows everybody. Thankfully for Craig, I'm known as the guy that buys houses. But before that, we still got 8,000 realtors in the state. It's very competitive. And
8,000, man. There's only like 16,000 people that live there or something like that, right?
Well, you do the math, actually, it's funny. 16,000, that's about the number of transactions that happen every year in the state. So your MLS, how many transactions do you guys have?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I'm part of CRMLS. We have hundreds of thousands of transactions. Right. I mean, that's only part of the state. Right? Yeah, probably at that rate. So, man, I mean, that's I loved it because I wanted you to share with all of our guests. That's one of the reasons I grabbed you over here. I'm like, dude, you guys have got to hear Nathan's story. I was just on stage with Nathan. You were talking about your story, like where you started from in real estate, and the transition you had to go through, the experience of the ups and the downs. And your dad was in real estate, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And like, you weren't going to go into it first. You were selling cars and to now where you're at. Tell a little bit about that story.
Yeah. So the car story is a pretty good story but I'll back it up. So my dad did this for 35 years before me. And he started in the 70s. So real estate's changed a little bit since the 70s.
Maybe just a little.
So, I think about it, like, I remember when fax machines, I remember when he had a cell phone in his car, it was like 50 cents a minute and I was not allowed to call anybody on it. So he was a very hardworking man, the hardest working person I've ever met. And he built a company in his 20s and, they did the old school way. Like they did everything, like contracts had to be signed. You made 5 copies, wrote them out, and delivered them to people. You help get people pre-approved. Yeah, wow. That's where he came from. And so I grew up with him, and the problem when you're doing that, he would work 8 in the morning until 9 at night. I wouldn't see him, and so I remember that, and it's really tough on a marriage. It's really tough on kids.
Yeah.
And operating that way, and many agents still do, right? Real estate's the second highest divorce rate, next to divorce attorneys.
Is it really?
Real estate's a 2. Realtors.
Really?
2,
I didn't know that, man. Wow.
So, my parents stayed together the whole time, but I just remember growing up being like, I don't want to do real estate. Like, I love my freedom. That's the biggest thing I like is my time. And I was like, I don't want to do this. I want to do this. So I got into a lot of different fields. I was a mechanic. I was worked at the Providence Journal making newspapers. I got laid off there. I found a job on a cruise ship. I was going to go, cut lumber, cut trees. That was going to be my job.
Kind of the jack of all trades, man.
Well, I was just trying to do everything. And I eventually realized, it's kind of like I got this is my back pocket, my father, as far as being able to show me what to do, and I'm not using this. And doing these jobs, I realized, hey man, I can't keep on doing this. There's not much of a future of wealth, doing all these things by myself or having to work for somebody. I want to start my own business. So I was about 20 years old. I called my dad, said, hey, I want to get in real estate. It wasn't very far because I was living above the garage at that time. So I talked to him. And
of course you were living above the garage. I mean, where else would you be living at that time?
Well, I was just coming back from work on a cruise ship. So I was...
well, how old were you at this time?
20. So
yeah, of course. Okay. That makes a lot of sense then.
So I was... maybe 19. So I was about 19, 20. Came back when I got it. My dad said, well, they need you to learn how to do sales. Why don't you go cut your teeth in the car business? So,
oh, wow.
So you threw
what
me
a place
out
to start.
Yeah, so I went and sold cars, and I love cars, so it was great. So I went and did that for 6 months. And if you want to learn rejection and low pay, go sell cars. At that time, you'd sell a car, and you'd work with the customer maybe two a week, 2 or 3 a week you'd get, and it'd be like $50 after you'd sell someone a car. That's what they would pay you. You'd get a spin maybe for another $50, so $100. You'd get a salary, and I would go there. And I remember the first job I got, my dad would laugh about it. I had to borrow his suit and his shoes, and I'm colorblind. So I wore one black shoe and one brown shoe to the interview. He still laughs at it.
You got to be kidding me.
I got the job though. So that was learning sales, and then I got into to real estate. I was 20 years old, got licensed, started doing that, and then my dad was telling me, listen, when I started off, he was Tom Hopkins.
Oh yeah, Tommy Hopkins.
Right. Yeah. So knocking on doors and doing stuff like that. He said, but that stuff doesn't work anymore. So you got to find a way to build your own name. And I was 20. He's like, man, you put 10 really good years in, and you find someone to follow and mimic them. You'll do 30s. It'll be skate after that. So I remember seeing an ad in the back of a paper. It was a testimonial from a student of Craig's of what they did. And I said, all right, well, I'll go check out the super conference. So I came to my first super conference, and I remember sitting in the back row, listening to people talking. And I called my father. I was like, this is the guy to follow. And I remember watching the marketing panel that I just came off of with you up there. And I remember signing up for coaching. And I was like, I wrote on the paper, it was a green piece of paper at the time, I will be on stage with you guys. Look forward to it.
Oh, that's awesome. And
I put that up there, and that's where I started. So I was pretty good at sales, I like to say. I mean, I was banging out 25 sales from just doing open houses and stuff like that. But when I started with Craig, I quickly climbed. Now we're doing over 400. I was making, gross $100,000, $150,000 a year, to now we're making $4 million a year in commissions.
There's something you said just a little bit ago about building wealth. You know what I mean? And I think you're probably at a point in your career, which, dude, you're still really young. How old are you right now?
I was 20 then, so I'm 22 now. I'm 36. I'll be 37, going on 37.
I mean, think about that. One of the top 100 team leaders in the entire nation. You've been there for a little bit. Okay, you've been selling homes. I remember when I came in this, you were one of the biggest guys in this system. You were in your mid-30s, early to mid-30s at that time. You're still in your mid-30s, and you have tons of people working for you now. I mean, do you still even sell, personally go out and list homes and help buyers and things like that, or you just got your whole team doing it for you now?
No, I haven't had to sell in probably about 31 is when I was able to step out of the sales market. My goal was to make my first $1 million before 30, and I was able to in 1 year with Craig Proctor.
Dude, that's absolute money. Yeah. Do you know that it's funny, I talk to a lot of, people who are coming through, let's say Craig Super Conference for the first time, and they're looking to get rich. They're looking to get rich. They're looking to figure out, a system that can help them get there. But then after a while, like after you start being mentored by Craig and you hear more of the, the stories, you realize that the wealth creation is through leverage. You know what I mean? Leveraging people as team members to go sell houses, or better yet, we all know that prospecting is an activity that is supposed to be done in sales. And the easiest thing for most big companies, there's these big brokerage houses out there right now teaching their agents like, hey, you got to go and prospect every day, call expireds, call canceled listings, call your sphere of influence. But then guys like us realize that now we're going to leverage advertising to do all that prospecting for us, and just on a silver platter produce buyers and sellers who actually want to make a move here in the next 6 months. I mean, so your whole business is advertising run, correct?
Yes. I mean, the biggest problem, I don't want to get into it too much because I don't know how much time we have in this podcast, but it's really how the industry is set up, and it's a scam. Most people just don't realize it. They know that you're going to sell 2, 3, 4 houses on average, or you're going to cap out. At a certain time.
Absolutely.
What month do you cap out on?
Yes.
December, right? And how many houses do you sell in December, right? And I really, that was one of the things that drove us to be different in the market and Craig was right there saying, hey, you got to do everything different. And when that was running our company, is really being focused on the customer and making better lives, building better quality lives.
This episode of the Craig Proctor podcast is brought to you by Salisbury Media Group, the leading real estate virtual tour and photography company in the greater Toronto area. We have an exclusive offer just for you, Craig Proctor podcast listeners. Use promo code CPP when booking and receive 10% off your first shoot. You can learn more about this offer and check out our work at salisburymedia.ca. Now back to the Craig Proctor podcast.
Yeah, and going back to that point, that the industry and what it represents and brokers. I mean, I meet brokers and their whole model is to just have mediocrity. They breed mediocrity because for them, these big brokerage houses, that's where the money is. And Craig, learning this entire system, learning the advertising, it's a liberation of just us as entrepreneurs to be able to go out and actually build something that's working for us. All right. So tell our listeners right now, what was the first set of things you did marketing wise that absolutely changed the game for you, where you all of a sudden it went from working open houses and helping families and friends to actually having buyers and sellers call you that you can remember?
Well, I go to the guaranteed sale program. It was a game changer. I was doing Craig Proctor just, I don't want to say dabbling in it, but dabbling in it when he was starting and afraid to do certain things.
Well, tell our listeners what that is, because most of our listeners probably don't even know what the guaranteed sale program is. What exactly is that?
So the guaranteed sale program is very simple. We guarantee that we can sell your home, and if we can't, we'll buy it. But it's really what we call USP, unique selling proposition. What do most agents say out there, right? Hey, call me, I'm number one.
I'm trustworthy.
I work really hard.
Yeah.
I'll answer my phone at 11 a.m. 11 p.m. I hope you answer at 11 a.m.
And most agents don't even do that today.
You got to get hold of them after 1. But anyways, so most agents were all saying the same thing. Yeah. And we think of a car dealership. What car dealership doesn't say they're number one? Yeah. Is that where you bought your car from?
Yeah. Every car dealership, we're the lowest price.
Right.
Yeah. We got the best cars, the biggest selection. Right.
So trying to be different and stand out, like Domino's. What made Domino's? Your pizza delivered in 30 minutes or less, so it's free.
Yep.
That really made the change. And so
the USP.
The USP. So USP is a differentiator that differentiates you from your competition. More and more people are getting the idea what a USP is, but now 12, 14, 15 years ago, it was really something new that was coming out there for a lot of businesses. And the guaranteed sale program is a differentiator. You know, that's what I'm known as I said before, in my market, is I'm the guy that buys houses.
Yeah.
You know?
So, and that was the first thing you went and did, or one of the first things. It was implementing a unique selling proposition to set you apart from all your competitors in the marketplace.
Right.
And how'd that go over, by the way?
I remember the first time, as we're talking right now, these things kind of hit me. I remember I was at an open house, and I was hosting the open house. A guy came in, he was talking, and he said, "Oh yeah, there's this other guy," and I was trying to get the listing from him, and he's telling me there's this guy I'm going to use to sell my house because he guarantees he'll buy the house if he can't sell it. And I was like, "Well, that's me," and he's like, "No, it's another guy." I was like, "Okay, it was me." And finally had to convince the guy by showing him my business card. That was me that was offered that. So that's what I could tell that was getting traction. And from there, it really just took off. And that's just, we've dominated that field for a long time in Rhode Island, New England. At the time I was with a franchise. We were #1 in New England, a very big franchise. They have a big hot air balloon, just so everybody knows.
No, I don't think any of our listeners are going to catch that one.
We
big
went
hot air balloon.
We went from nobody to #1 for them in New England, which is a feat that we're very happy to be top 100 in the country for them also.
That's awesome. And now you're out on your own, right? Like you're doing your own thing?
Yeah, 2012, we opened up our own franchise. Not that we had a problem with the balloon or anything like that. It was just the cost wasn't there, that we could just do it ourselves cheaper.
Yeah. Well, you realize that, what traditional brokers teach is not where big time real estate agents, top 100 real estate agents in North America, what they're actually doing.
Corey, I think a great thing to plan is they have these companies set up really to keep everybody in the same pocket of selling 10 houses, and they'll reward each other and be like, "Wow, you sold 10 houses. That's amazing. You're the top 1% of the company." And I'll talk to the agents and I'll be like, "Okay, you sold 10 houses. That's $2 million in real estate. So that was about $40,000 gross you just made. Now, what did you pay your brokerage? Let's say 25%.
Yeah.
Okay, do the math from there. That's another $10,000. You now at $30,000. Okay. What did you spend on marketing? $4,000 a year. Okay, so now you just made $26,000.
It's poverty, dude.
And how many hours did you work? 80 hours a week. I'm like, okay, so that's 4,000 hours. 4,000 divided by 26,000. You're talking making $9 an hour.
Yeah, dude.
What does McDonald's pay?
Yeah. Hey, I'm from California. You go to McDonald's, you're making $12 an hour. Yeah. Real estate agents are making less than that when you break it all down. It's amazing because I always find that real estate agents are wanting to get in the business because they want freedom. You talked about it earlier, freedom, having that freedom of time and to be with your family, because you got a family, you love traveling. You were telling a story earlier about traveling for a couple months with the dogs in the RV, but they get in for freedom, yet like your dad, you talked about your dad, he was working, 12-hour days? All the time, missing games.
12 hours.
Like
I think that was an easy one. Yeah, I was talking about freedom, and that was my biggest thing. It's always been my thing. I think a lot of people, especially guys, freedom's really big. So, that was why I said, listen, I don't ever want to get into it and be tied to, I can never take time off. I can never do anything what I want to do. And so with this system, I've been able to, as I talked about earlier with you, take time off. In fact, one of our best years ever for profitability, for a number of transactions sold also, I took 2 months off.
Wow, 2 months off.
2 straight months off. My son was 2 at the time. I had 2 dogs. My wife, a 2-year-old and 2 dogs. We hopped in the RV. We did a road trip for 2 months around the country, and it was a great time.
That's amazing, dude.
And houses still sold while I was away.
I mean, and for all of our listeners, that's what Nathan's talking about, this system. System has to do with direct response advertising, setting up a real business, outside sales agents, inside sales agents, administrators who are doing the activities that need to be done each and every day to make you one of the top 100 real estate agents in all the United States.
Yes, yeah, and that's I have to give it to my team. It's not me out there, as we just talked about, selling anymore. We just have a great staff, and through this team that we built, when you start off, it's all about me, right?
Yeah,
I got to get out of my parents' apartment above the garage. I got to get my own house, my own place, whatever. So it's really just about me. Then you build something that's about us, and then it's about them. We've grown that into our companies now about them. core values, part of our vision is building quality lives, is helping others, building quality lives, building others up, to give people, we got people that have joined and they're making not a good income to, quadrupling the income, making 5 times what they were making before, and be able to have free time. So like the agents on my team, they basically duplicated what I did. I did it. Now I show them how to do it.
Yeah.
And now they're making a 6-figure income net in their pocket, meaning they're making that money, keeping it in their pocket, and they're able to control their freedom also. Like, they want to take the weekend off, they want to take the evening off, they just put it in their calendar and they have the time off. And we have other people on the team that can help the business. So that was one of the things, not just taking care of myself and serving myself and my family, was now showing other people how to have quality life, make quality income, provide for their family. They can now buy houses. We got lots and lots of stories of people on our team that came from areas to be able to continue to make their lives better, building quality lives.
Isn't it awesome when you're watching like the checks you're writing agents? I mean, I remember running my team the first time an agent on my team actually made 6 figures, over $100,000 in the year. And, my admin at the time, she's like, wow, she broke $100,000 already this year. I'm like, and I had to take a step back. I'm like, I just helped somebody make what I thought back in the day when I started in real estate was a massive amount of money. I just helped someone else achieve that goal. And you're helping all kinds of agents up in Rhode Island right now make 6-figure incomes. You ever take a step back, you're like, damn, look at what we've accomplished in just a short period of time. And I'm only 36 years old, man.
Yeah, sometimes I don't do it very often. I guess maybe sometimes it's important to do that and look at it. I'm always looking for the next person we could help. But I don't know if you ever run into this trouble. It's so hard to help people. Some people, you just you try to help them and they're just they don't want to be helped. They just want to stay where they are.
Yeah, all the time, because they're comfortable. People don't like to actually change a lot of things. They're not willing to, they look at a team like you're running, which is not the standard way that all these big box brokerages tell you to run a successful real estate career, even though nobody in those brokerages are actually selling a lot of houses. They don't want to be helped. Those agents don't want to actually make that change. They're comfortable just making that $30,000 or $40,000 a year, man.
What are they going to do when the market changes? What are they going to do? Like when I started with Craig, luckily it was 2005, 2006. Luckily I had a year to really test things out, and the recession hit, right? The Great Recession.
Great Recession.
There's nothing great about it, but I didn't know any other way to sell real estate. But then what Craig taught me, and that's where we flourished. I mean, we grew in the recession.
Yeah, when other people are leaving, nobody's doing anything. So because you're doing stuff, it's just working, 10 to 15 times better.
Well, we have all these other disruptors that we didn't have at the time. So I think the next disruption in real estate is not going to come from a recession or something like that. It's you have the lawsuits that are going on right now with what co-brokes get paid, and why the seller has to pay that. You have Zillow. Yep. You have iBuyers. You have all these people taking pieces of the pie, and the pie hasn't gotten bigger. It's the same size pie everybody's eating from. So what are these agents going to do, or these companies going to do to teach you to change besides knocking on doors and calling expireds?
And they're not, dude. That's why people are calling our offices all the time. Hey, man, I'm not making it anymore. I can't get another transaction. I need help. So let's do this. First year in real estate, how much did you personally take home? First year
in real estate, I think the first full year I took home around probably about $75,000.
$75,000. Yep. That was a good year, man. You were.
I think I did 150, and because I was on my dad's split, it was 50-50. So it was $75,000. If my dad's watching this right now, I still remember you took half.
But you do a lot of work back home with your charity, with the Children's Hospital, right? You guys are doing a lot of work. Tell our listeners a little bit more about that.
That's something that's very close to my wife and I. We have a 6-year-old son. Luckily, we haven't had to use Hasbro. My wife, when she grew up, she had what they call a butterfly implant. I don't know the exact term for it. Put on her heart. It covers she had some holes in her heart, and it fixed that for her, and she went to Hasbro for that. And so back in about 2010, we started donating to Hasbro Children's Hospital, giving a portion of our income to them. At this point, we actually just met last Friday at Hasbro Children's Hospital. We wrote a check for $31,000.
$31,000. So your first year in real estate, you made $75,000, and now here you are. Fast forward, not making $75,000. You donated last Friday $31,000 to the Children's Hospital. That's almost half of what you made your first year in real estate. So that's what you guys have donated this year to the Children's Hospital, $31,000.
Yep, and we're on a mission, and we'll hit it next year, $100,000 to Hasbro Children's Hospital. We're probably about 30 grand away, 20 grand away from hitting that. And they're actually donating or naming part of their park after our team for raising the money for them. They have a garden in the back where the kids go actually grow food. A lot of these inner city kids, and so they don't know exactly how that works. So they teach them there, but it's education. Also, it's for the kids that are in, you're in the hospital for sometimes a year, 2 years, battling things, that they bring them out to a nice area right there. So they're redoing the whole thing, and they're naming it after our team. And I never thought these things would happen.
Dude, that is so awesome. Yep. I mean, going from making $75,000 your first year in real estate to now being able to donate, your plan next year over $100,000. They're naming a wing after you at the Children's Hospital. You're not just making money and stacking all those dollar bills back home, but you're giving that money away to people and especially to children in need. That's so awesome.
Thank you very much. I learned it all here. Even how to give. That was something that Todd taught me. That was very important to it. And, that's where we were able to find it. And it's really opened a lot of doors and just a way of do business, way to do things.
That's awesome. Well, as we get ready to wrap up this podcast, do me a favor. If you were to give one piece of advice, one nugget to the listeners, what would that be in taking the next step towards their success?
Follow Craig and copy it. Don't be afraid to be different, and implement. And implement like a madman. Like just go and implement and try different things.
Find somebody who's been proven to be successful in the space. Go copy what they're doing. Like Craig, you and I followed Craig. He was the #1 RE/MAX agent in the world. Mm-hmm. We found him. We copied him. We implemented like crazy, and now here you are selling over 400 some odd homes.
And I would honestly say it. I mean, it takes being hungry, determined, as we talked about, to be out there. But if I didn't find Craig, I wouldn't have made it. I wouldn't be. I don't know what I would be.
What was that acronym you set up on stage? I love it.
PhD.
PhD.
Yeah, that's how we hire. But that's what's in common with you, me, and everybody that we're on stage with. All the people that are successful, they have PhD. And what PhD is? Poor, hungry, determined.
Yep. Absolutely.
Right. We were all at that point of no matter what we had to do, if you told me to run through that brick wall, okay, I'm running through the brick wall. It's poor, hungry, determined. And having that mentality. And the other thing, I've learned, and I've heard this from the dojo that I go to, Training for Warriors, is white belt mentality. Is you have a black belt, but you always have to have the white belt mentality that you're willing to learn and new things. Even though you think you may know everything, you don't. And be able to implement and do things. Things are changing. And I can tell you, even what we did, I've been with Craig for 13, 14 years. 13, 14 years doesn't work anymore, but he's on top of what's coming up next. And we discover it and we put it out together and figure it out as knowing what's coming up and learning new things. Because you can't sit back in real estate and operate like it was 2 years ago. And not get your lunch handed to you, so.
Well, thank you, Mr. Nathan Clark, the man, the myth, the legend, #1 agent in the state of Rhode Island, one of the top 100 real estate team leaders in the United States, going to sell over 450 houses, and next year, over $100,000 to the Children's Hospital. Thank you so much, guys. For all of you listening out there, if you haven't already, go find Nathan. Facebook, Instagram, where are you?
Facebook, Instagram, all the social media ones, YouTube. Please like our stuff there, share it, and we'll put more stuff out.
Absolutely. Go follow them. You got to remember, that was your big tip, man. Find people that are successful. Go follow them. Copy, paste. All right, man. Thank you so much. And thank you for all of you listeners out there. We'll be coming back here again with another rock star agent. But thanks again, Mr. Nathan Clark.
Thanks, bud.